Thank you. Shri D.B. Chandragowda.
I am grateful to the House and especially to the Law Minister for having tabled this bill for debate in this House. I think first of its kind in the history of democratic India that a legislation of the order of this type to bring within the purview of the legal ambit, the judicial system and the judiciary also. Basically, this act, which is introduced today through you, Madam, is Judicial Standards and Accountability Bill of 2010. On the contrary, to our expectation, the connected constitution amendments were not proposed. There are umpteen number of questions to be addressed by the members in both the houses. The basic question is, the Constitution makes three wings as that pillars of democracy: executive, judiciary, and of course the legislature. All of them are governed by one law or the other. To keep up the standards, maintain that, and also to ensure the internal sanctities in three different organs. The question came as to why this bill is brought. What is the responsibility of this Parliament? Was not 1968 Judicial Inquiry Act sufficient? Was not the 1997 full bench decision to have an in-house arrangement to look into the conduct of the judges was enough? They did. But the only point for consideration was they lacked the backing of legislature. Today, we are attempting to back up the opinion of the Supreme Court as well the high courts of different high courts in India. My first point is that this bill before presenting it to the House was sent to the Committee for Scrutiny. The recommendations are before us. The important committee which this bill refers to is the National Judicial Oversight Committee. The National Judicial Oversight Committee has to find out as to how the judge behaves or how the independence of the judiciary or the independence of the House is kept up. So therefore, an independent statutory body called the National Judicial Oversight Committee is constituted. Before the matter goes to the Oversight Committee, there are three more committees. One is basically the Inquiry Committee, which consists of only judges, and the second committee constituted to look into the details of the complaints, the Scrutiny Committee, and of course the investigation committee. The different parameters are set for constituting these three committees. The National Judicial Oversight Committee must be given wider powers. Constitutional powers, including that of taking the help from outside for the purpose of getting more information. The idea of statutory providing for judicial standards, irrespective of their content, is to be kept in view. Of late, judges are called on, questioned by the general public, the bar, as well as the bench. And their behavior in the court is also attracting the attention of the people and the litigants at large. The bill should not act as a deterrent these expressions of the feelings. On the contrary, it should help them to come out with more facts, more details in performance of a single or the bench judges. The bill should provide, while providing a National Judicial Oversight Committee, the composition of the committee should be kept in view. It again should not be a judicial body wherein no legislature is included, no bar is included, or unfortunately, even the greater jurists are taken into confidence before constituting this committee. So I would urge upon the Honourable Minister, through you, Madam, that these things should be kept in view, and we have so many commissions, Human Rights Commission and other commissions too. Why don't you think of having a judicial commission to pursue the complaints by the persons? The complaints by the institutions are different from that of the complaints from the persons. When we have enacted a law, which I am presiding, I had the distinction of presiding as a Speaker of the Assembly, the Loka Ayukta Bill, we knew that there are some constitutional hurdles. But after the judgment, or after the reference to the Loka Ayukta, the truth came out. We speak of confidentiality in this bill, total confidentiality. But on the contrary, the entire report of the Loka Ayukta came out before it was placed to the concerned authority. This raised the eyebrow of each and every one. And secondly, the mandatory provision provided to look into the natural justice has been ignored. Such things should be a guide, friend and a philosopher for this bill. These things should be, I hope, the Honourable Minister with so much of experience in public life and being a senior counsel himself would look into it. Certain comments were made yesterday by the senior-most Supreme Court judge, Supreme Court counsel, saying that the appointing authority of the Karnataka Loka Ayukta lies with the Chief Minister. He asserted, I am surprised to see a lawyer becoming a politician on the floor of this House. In spite of our repeated request, we could not go to records because we could not draw the attention. Madam, your attention could not be drawn by any number of attempts made by us. It's not correct. The correct position is there is a collegium. The collegium consists of the Speaker, the Chairman, the leaders of the opposition, and, of course, the Chief Minister. Ultimately, in consultation with all this, finally it goes to the High Court, Chief Justice of the High Court of the concern. And taking his opinion, the Loka Ekta is decided. What's happening in Karnataka today? What's happening? I would like to bring to your kind notice that the recommendations are ignored by the constitutional authority. Giving flimsy reasons. The constitutional authority, being the governor of the state, who has to work on the aid and advice of the cabinet, refuses to accept that without giving proper reasons. Such things are our experience in Karnataka. Madam Speaker, we had such things for quite a long time, despite the representations. The Government of India did not take notice of it at all. Coming back to the composition of this scrutiny panel, oversight committee, investigation committee, and ultimately these committees should keep in mind, the investigation committee particularly should keep in mind the judicial territory and judicial hierarchy in view. It cannot act to its fancies. It should keep that dignity of both the judiciary and the judge should be kept in view. The provision is made for a private person to make a complaint. Either the Parliament can make a complaint through the Speaker, or the person can make a complaint. The difference between these two has to be carefully examined. If I have understood the bill properly, I would like to bring to your kind notice, Honourable Minister, to look into certain aspects, especially, as I said earlier, the committees. The committees work in tandem, and the committees consisting of purely judges, but not involving the eminent jurists. I am surprised to see every member of Parliament or the legislature, before he contests the election, should declare his properties, his assets and liabilities before the concerned authorities. The action, this was brought to the notice of the High Court and the Supreme Court. They took note of it, made a law, or I would say a Judicial Inquiries Act, which was further reviewed, restated by the full bench committee in 1997. And this committee adopted these thinkings well within their purview, but there was no legal backup. Whether one gives the details about his family, which includes further exploration, friends, relatives, and the restrictions laid should be kept up in view. One is prohibitory, the other is some activities of the judge. The prohibition is bill requires to follow certain standards of conduct. Complaints against judges can be made on the grounds of non-compliance with these standards. Certain activities such as corruption, willful abuse of power, or persistent failure to perform duties is yet another problem. The activities prohibited under the bill now proposed is close association of an individual member of the bar who practices in the same court. Close association of a member of the bar who practices in the same court. Allowing individual members of the bar to come to the judge's residence or professional work for the office.
Take your seat. Your seat. Yes. Continue.
Madam, hearing or deciding the matters in which members of the judges of the family or relatives or friends is concerned. Entering into the public debate, very important matter, entering into the public debate on political matters which the judge is likely to decide and engage in the trade business or the speculations. Of late, every arguments, every complaints, almost every observations of the courts are being noticed through media. Especially media is so active. Every bit of details are furnished for the public service. Thanks to them. But they should know that while bringing these matters, recently certain things happened in the High Court of Karnataka, which I don't want to bring it to the notice of the Honorable House, but I can speak to the Honorable Minister and convince him as to what is going on. As I said earlier, National Judicial Commission in 2006 has examined the matter and certain amendments have been recommended. It sought to establish a National Judicial Council, but however, the bill is lapsed. So therefore, the urgency is, as on today, we have certain key issues and analysis to be made. The key issue is whether the balance between the independence and accountability is maintained. Balance between the independence and accountability is maintained by the proposed mechanism in the bill. The Oversight Committee has non-judicial members which might impinge on the independence of the judiciary. I would like to draw your attention only to the fact that the judiciary should not feel that their rights have been encroached upon by these committees. The bill penalizes everyone who breached the confidentiality of the complaint. Everyone who breaches the confidentiality of the complaint. What about the complaint against the institution itself has to be examined. The scrutiny panel has judges from the High Court. This is different from the House procedure of the Supreme Court, because House procedure of the Supreme Court lays down other principles, and the Oversight Committee, I feel, should have non-judicial members also, who are either the retired judge of the Supreme Court or concurrently the retired judge of the Chief Justice. The bill did not mention, after all these scrutinies, if the matter is sent before the President after a resolution, whether that could be further examined by the Supreme Court by way of an appeal or writ petition. This has to be made clear. President's order should not be questioned in the normal course in the court of law. But here, that bar has not been maintained. The Judges Act 1968 currently has two cases before it. I think one is Soumitra Sen's, which has been disposed of by his own making, and the only matter pending before us is Justice Dinakaran's case, who was then the judge of the Karnataka High Court. The matter is still pending, and only one motion was moved to remove a judge. Justice Ramaswamy's famous case, which the government failed to move, and he came out clean. Number of allegations of corruption against the members of the judiciary have been made. The Supreme Court, therefore, adopted these procedures to be followed. Judges now have to be required to declare their assets and liabilities, and also of their spouse and children. Of their spouse and children, very important part, I certainly take note of it. The bill establishing the Judicial Oversight Committee, Complaints Panel and Investigation Committee. Any investigation, any complaint against anybody for that matter has to be done very carefully, keeping the confidentiality in view, keeping the reputation of the person involved in view, keeping the dignity of the office he holds in view. So, sir, certain features of the bill replaces, of course, this bill replaces the Judges Inquiry Act, and further it has to be strengthened by looking into the Article 124 as to how it applies. And if that constitutionality has to be examined by the minister, I would appeal to him to at least provide constitutional status to this high-powered committee, the so-called high-powered committee, because no appeal is provided and should not be provided. The allegations of corruption against the members of judiciary has been examined in detail in 1997. Madam Speaker, complaints of reference procedure, members of Parliament, motion presented in either House, or Judicial Standards and Accountability Bill, members of Parliament or any other person. This is being replaced. Members of Parliament or any other person is Judicial Standards and Accountability Bill. Madam Speaker, the Speaker of the Lok Sabha or the Chairman of the Rajya Sabha is in the Judges Inquiry Act 1968. But cheaper here are chairman by members of Parliament. National Judicial Oversight Committee by person other than the members of Parliament. So, Madam Speaker, the committee will consist of one judge from the Supreme Court and one from among Chief Justices of High Court and a distinguished jurist. Now the Oversight Committee, complaint is made by Parliament, the Speaker or the Chairman will refer the matter to the Oversight Committee, who will constitute an investigation committee. Further complicated, who will Oversight Committee refers to the matters to the scrutiny panel within 3 months. You have another 3 months of period for extension. The scrutiny panel shall report the Oversight Committee on whether there are sufficient grounds for proceedings against the judge. Report will be submitted in 3 months. If necessary, it can be extended another 3 months, that is totally 6 months. So if the scrutiny bill report that there are sufficient grounds for proceedings against the judge, the Oversight Committee shall set up an investigation. Involved in the matter and refer to from the Parliament. Inquiry has to be conducted in principle. My suggestions for composition of the committees, especially judicial oversight bodies, I would appeal to through you, Madam, to the Honourable Minister to have a relook on these issues. Because Judges' Inquiry Bill of 1968, Chief Justice of India, 2 senior-most judges of the Supreme Court, 2 Chief Justices of the High Court. It's a commission, and Standing Committee recommended broad-based committee. Members from executive and the legislature and also from the bar should be included. Here is a bill in 1968, Inquiries Bill, only Judicial Committee. Here we have proposed in this recommendations to establish a broad-based committee consisting of legislature and the bar. National Oversight Committee has members from the judiciary and executive. The scrutiny panel doing initial screening is composed entirely of the judges. The composition of investigation committee is completely not known. So the basic features of some judicial oversight bodies are to be looked into, have a relook. Investigating body. Investigation should be a separate chapter. The complainant, the judiciary, the inquiry cannot be well within one roof. See, for example, in Karnataka, again I go back to Karnataka and draw your attention, Honourable Minister, that the Lokayukta makes a complaint. Lokayukta inquires the complaint and Lokayukta gives the judgment. How could it happen? It did happen. And so many cases are pending before it. Many people have questioned these authorities, but yet to get the relief. The removal of judges, the only way for the Parliament through an impeachment motion, which I referred to earlier, impeachment motion, except Ramaswamy's case, no other case was discussed or debated here. In Lok Sabha, in Raj Sabha, Sumitra Sen's case was discussed in detail, and before it reached the Lok Sabha, he had realized his responsibility, and I think he submitted his resignation to the office. So therefore, I would appeal to the Honourable Minister through you, Madam, judge, prosecutor and the complainant should not be in the one institution. Oversight Commission now has to look into these complaints. So, the bill which is moved is inadequate, had to have a relook and come out with clean, strong and vibrant bill. If these things are taken note of, I don't think other methods have to be. So finally, before concluding, Madam, I will only last few words as a part of the bill that the bill doesn't provide the clean and acceptable to the Parliament, as I could understand. Therefore, a judicial commission is the utmost necessity of the day. The bill highly ineffective and opaque law. I had no other words to say. Please, I would only appeal to you through the Speaker to redraft after taking holistic view, taking policy parameters and requirements, and also the most important thing is amendment to the Constitution of India to fit into the framework, duly representing and duly respect the basic structure of the Constitution as decided in Keshwanand Bharati's case, that federal structure is a basic feature of the Constitution. That should be kept in view before the law is voted here. And the common man demands judges should be accountable. He demands that the judges should be accountable, his questions to be addressed by this House on August House. At the same time, the privacy of the judiciary also should be well respected. With these words, Madam, I would once again, through you, Madam, appeal to the Law Minister who has mooted this bill to reconsider, to formulate first a judicial commission and then think of the amendment to the concerned sections to fit into this law, and let us not make a mockery without giving the proper teething to the law. Therefore, I hope that the Honourable Minister would consider certain points which I have raised and the delicacies which I have brought to your notice. And thank you, Madam, for giving an opportunity to express my views.
Shri Manish Tiwari.